So we're here with Raleigh and Sandy Purvis, the parents of Justin and Todd, who are the stars of a new documentary called Driving Blind, and we're going to get into that. But first of all, maybe you guys can tell us, where do you live in now?
Right now we live in Augusta, Georgia.
And you've been moving around a lot because?
I spent 36 plus years in the military, so
Wow.
we moved every 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
And never across the street or across town, always across the world.
Wow. And so obviously the boys grew up in that environment. They've been
Very
all over the
mobile
world. Right.
environment, right.
And they're very mobile in the film, but they're sticking to this country. And if you could tell a little bit about the film itself and how they got involved with this, please.
With choroideremia, which is their diagnosed disease, they lose the peripheral vision first. So there was this thought that there were going to be parts of the United States they haven't seen, and they thought about a road trip around the perimeter of the United States to see sites that they'd like to maybe imprint on their brains.
Right.
So they said, we're doing a road trip around the United States. It ended up to be about 36 states in 36 days.
Wow.
How many miles?
13,000
miles.
Wow.
And took a professional film crew with them who documented their journey, their great adventure, as I called it. And so that's where the movie
And
came
the
from.
film crew, are these gentlemen that they worked with before or knew previously?
Not really.
Okay.
Justin's in Washington, D.C. area, and really was the first one to kind of have an idea and started doing some financing. And then Todd, out in Los Angeles, met up with the gentleman that became the director, who also had the sound man and the cinematographer.
So when we're talking about them driving, we're talking about your sons are in their own car
Right.
together, but then there's what, a van following them?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Second
Wow, through the whole thing.
equipment.
Yes.
As we mentioned before, Justin is he's a performer and involved with improv in
Yes.
DC. Okay, and Todd is also in the showbiz business.
Right. Todd's a film editor for television.
Okay.
And does the odd independent short little film or play
And doesn't
when he gets the
Todd
opportunity.
do some of the editing on the film as
Right.
well?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Todd was very
Yes.
involved in the editing.
Now, when they came to you with this idea, was this something that you found to be wasn't a surprise because of who they are, or were you a little scared about this? What was your feeling
Both.
originally? Okay. Okay.
Both, yeah. Of course, I did a lot of praying. That's a lot of country to cover in
Sure.
in a vehicle
Sure.
with the knowledge that you do have a certain vision loss.
Right. Right.
And so I thought, I don't know if they'd ever be able to do it.
Now let's go back a little to their diagnoses. When did that happen? How old were they, and what were the circumstances?
Justin was diagnosed 1990, 91?
About 1991.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was 13, 14.
Okay.
Started off, personally, I thought he was just being the typical teenager, running into things and all that.
Okay.
But, we were actually in Germany, stationed in Germany, and he had to go for a school physical, and the doctor was going through the physical things and looked in his eyes and, oops,
Saw something.
there's something in there. I don't know, as a general practitioner, she didn't know what it was, so
Right.
she said, you need to go to someplace. We went to the local ophthalmologist who didn't know.
Okay.
It was beyond their expertise. And they sent us back here to DC to Walter Reed, and that's where they did a series of tests. And it, for how many years? A number of years, it kind of went from the whole gamut of what it could be, from retinitis pigmentosa to gyrate atrophy to you name it. And until they finally did the right test, if you will, and it came up as choroideremia. And then that explained a lot of what I thought was typical
The loss of peripheral
vision,
Night
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 blindness.
blindness. Okay. So, and he was 13, 14.
13
at
to
the time.
14, right.
And what was your initial feeling about this when you finally found out what it was?
Well, actually, if we go back to about 87 and 88, we were in Louisiana at the time. And when I took them in for what we thought would just be glasses, needing glasses, we were told that they had what looked to be like freckles on their retinas. Nobody knew what it was.
Both of them, both Todd and
Right,
Justin.
right, way back then. But nobody knew much about it at that point, or they didn't even really know where to send us. So they just said, let's keep an eye on it. Every year they should at least have some kind of eye exam, extensive eye exam. So that was prior even to this, but then about 91 we had the official diagnosis.
And then was Todd sooner after diagnosed because he was looked at closely, or was he not showing any symptoms of that?
He wasn't showing the symptoms that
okay.
Justin was.
So you weren't
Wasn't
worried
as
about
severe.
that. Okay.
Right.
When was he finally diagnosed then?
It wasn't until about, I would say about maybe 06.
Okay.
Officially.
When he was out in the Los Angeles area and went to see some specialists.
I think he and we felt that he had choroideremia, but I don't want to say that.
Well, is this something that's shown itself in the family, either side of the family? So, out of the blue here. Okay. And then, of course, his parents. I mean, how did you feel initially about this, knowing that they progressively eyesight worse?
It's a lot to take in, and it's choroideremia especially is apparently passed through the mothers and manifests itself in the sons. So in most cases, they've actually told me, yes, you do have some freckles on your retinas as well, way back in 87 and 88, but I've not had any real issues with them. It's moved on to some. But it's, you cry. It's, you talk about the stages of death, and it's basically the same thing, going through those stages. And then getting to the acceptance and saying, okay, then you carry on. What do I need to keep going?
And what struck me in watching it, I've been able to see the film, which is great. What struck me though is how resourceful these guys are, how optimistic and positive they are. So does it help? Well, she raised them, but does it help to have a couple of sons who have this disease to be the way they are? They're going to take this thing on and
Well,
not
certainly. I
give up?
think it would be understandable if somebody with any, not just blindness, but any life-altering ailment, to say, I'm handicapped, I can't do anything, I'll just sit here. We just watched, listened to a speaker prior to coming here who's been blind since birth, and the only thing that you notice is he doesn't see with his eyes very well, but he does everything he wants to do.
Right, very successful.
So, as Sandy is very fond of saying, we all got something. So everybody's got something
They have to deal with.
that you have to deal with, whatever that is.
I think too, being part of a military family and being uprooted every 3 or 4 years.
Right.
Brand new place, brand new people, and you've just, okay, how do I carry on?
And it's evident in the film that no matter where these guys were going, they can kind of acclimate themselves pretty quickly to their environment, and they met quite a few people along the way, both sighted and visually impaired. And they also continually ask people to face the camera and answer the question:
Right.
if I knew I was going to go blind, what's the last thing I'm going to see? Which I thought was a really effective kind of motif throughout. But the film, that now you've seen the end product, how do you feel about it? Is there a highlight or two for you guys that you really?
Gramps in no pants.
Is that who that gentleman is? Is that your father?
That's their grandfather,
Right,
yes, my dad.
Right, at one point they pay a visit late at night, they've already gone to bed.
Yes.
He comes out and answers the door. I wasn't sure, okay.
Yeah.
And then they talk about how they got there, the directions, how they got there. Is there a highlight for you in the film, aside from them at the end paying a visit to you guys at George?
Well, I think when it was, what am I trying to say, many scenes where it was just Todd and Justin talking about this eye ailment that they have,
Right.
and that the vision, if you will, that they have, that, okay, so we can't see very well. That's not really as big a deal as those, as we probably would have thought it was 15 years ago.
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
The wonderful thing to me too about the film is it's not just about choroideremia.
Right.
That's their issue.
Right.
But there are a lot of people that have vision issues, and so this is just a trip around the country to see some things that anyone that might be losing vision for whatever reason
I think
could enjoy.
a totally unrelated viewpoint is everywhere they stop to talk to people. Some of the families, some of the people they talk with either have choroideremia or their family members. Others were just people at roadside restaurants that they were talking about, and they say, "Oh, you need to go over here," and it just shows to me, anyway, that America still, it's a great country. People are friendly.
Right.
We got some issues, but that's okay.
And you can go on an adventure by driving
Right.
across and you're back across the, and I think that came out too, that even if you don't have some kind of disease, eye or otherwise, go on an adventure, do things that you were thinking you can hold off till whenever. It's the film right now is being shown. It has been shown at many festivals. Continues to be there. It may get distribution fairly soon. Are you guys excited for them that all this is happening? You're wearing the T-shirts here. Is this kind of the motto here?
Yeah, that was the original motto that they came up with.
Can we turn around, Raleigh, and see? There it is.
www.drivingblind.net.
Okay. All right. Great. Hold on a second. And in terms of what's going to happen next with the film, what are you hoping will happen with it? That it'll get a
Worldwide distribution.
Right? So that others can see it.
Right.
Obviously.
Right, because vision loss and vision issues don't just affect the USA.
Yeah.
I
right.
mean, people around the world have issues with vision, and just coming to accept it, sit down, make a list of your skills and talents, the things that are positive in your life, and then just going forward, making the most. None of us know from day to day. We got to live one day at a time and live it the best that we can while we're here.
And at the end of the film, obviously, we learn, just what the vision of your two sons is. There's a comparison there, and doctors, after a doctor's exam, and so Justin, at this point, his vision is more limited.
Right.
He has to use a cane sometimes. Can't drive at this point. Whereas Todd seems to have lost a bit of vision, but he seems to be able to function.
Justin has about 14% of his vision.
Okay.
And Todd has, on average, 40 to 50%. It's
Okay.
a little different in each eye. But,
Okay.
Todd still drives.
Daytime.
In the daytime.
Right.
And he, I'm sure, drives on the same route, so he knows what to expect, more or less. He never can always expect everything.
Right.
And they've figured out how to cope, how to manage.
Right.
That's the important thing, I think.
So you guys hoping to show up at the the red carpet at the Oscars?
That would be nice.
Is that
It
what
would be
what you
nice.
got in your head right now?
That would be nice.
Well, let's hope for the sake of getting the film out there, you guys can get there, because I think it's well worth seeing. I've had the chance to see it. It's really an awesome film. So unless there's anything else you might like, well, first of all, this is your first Visions, right? Visions
No, it's our
conference?
second.
Oh, it's your second.
We were
I'm
here
sorry.
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
When it was
Okay.
in Baltimore.
Okay.
Having Justin in DC kind of makes it a combined event for
Right.
us, because we can come up, spend some time with him, and then be a part of the conference.
And I know I'm
as well.
taking you away from some of it right now, so we'll wrap up. But what do you hope to get out of Visions this time around while you're here?
Well, the knowledge of experts, so what the path might be ahead for all of us involved, and the inspirational stories.
Right.
The other
Which there are
people,
many,
the
yeah.
other people
Yeah.
that are carrying on and making the best of their situation. I think it's the hardest thing is for some of those people, especially the young men that are diagnosed and think my life is over. This is the end.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be that way, but it's about acceptance and attitude
Mm-hmm.
that they all like
Well,
that.
and that's what your son's film is about too, obviously, in part. So wonderful. Well, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you for the opportunity.
Okay.